Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Grant Cohn, covering the 49ers for the Santa Rosa Press-Democrat today and the Associated Press other days. The Niners just won their first playoff game in a long, long time. Let's talk about it. I'm going to go through my grades, and I'm going to take as many callers as I can. I'm going to try to get out of here in an hour, so let me do my spiel as quickly as I can, and I'm going to take Joe Ruckus. Joe, don't you walk out on me, Joe. You did it last time, and I was very disappointed. You better stay first in line because you're first. So I'm going to go through my grades real quick. Jimmy, C. I'm starting with my lowest grade. He wasn't bad. He was fine. He was average. He was like Kirk Cousins. Neither one played that well. Forget Kirk because Kirk was going against a tougher defense. What's up, Mr. Roscoe's? Hey, get in line. I know you called me. I appreciate you calling me, but I was on deadline, dude. I got to finish my writing before I can talk to you. Anyway, Jimmy, he was inconsistent. He was inaccurate. He had about 3 passes that could have been picked. He had a nice touchdown pass. He had a nice conversion on 3rd and 12. He had a pick. Kind of what you expect from a quarterback in his first playoff game. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson right now. It's his second playoff game. He's really, really, really struggling. A lot of times, these not inexperienced, but quarterbacks who haven't done it in the playoffs before struggle. So it's kind of like in The Matrix where Neo jumps off the building and falls. And you're like, well, does that mean anything? No, I mean, everyone falls their first time. It's your first time in the playoffs. It's going to be tough unless you're Patrick Mahomes or, Joe Montana or something like that. Coleman better get an apology. I'll get to Coleman. So, yeah, Jimmy C won the game, didn't make really many plays that were like breathtaking and basically managed the game, which is great. Because at times we were wondering, can he manage the game or is he too much of a gunslinger? He managed the game. So I give him a C, and doesn't mean he's a C quarterback. It just means first start in a playoff game. I would expect him to improve as the playoffs go on. I'll be back. I got to watch boxing. I like how you're committed to boxing. What was I going to say about Jimmy? Well, enough of Jimmy. He was fine, good enough. Running backs, I'm going to give him an A-. Tevin Coleman. First of all, Matt Breida used to be really good. I don't know what happened to him. It's funny how these running backs go through these phases of just not being good. Coleman went through one of those. He was good today. It seemed like he clearly just needed a week off. The bye week was everything for him. All of a sudden, he had some explosion. He doesn't have the best vision. I would say Mostert has better vision than Tevin Coleman. And by vision, I mean ability to quickly spot the correct hole and hit it. I think Mostert's better at that than Coleman, but today the holes were obvious and big, and Coleman was hitting them really, really hard, which is how we played in Atlanta and earlier this season, so that bodes well for the 49ers. Mostert was Mostert. He left the game with a craft camp, but he seems like he's okay. Breida fumbled. Enough of him. It seems like the Niners have 2 running backs now they can trust, Coleman and Mostert. That's key. Wide receiver, I made a big point about Kendrick Bourne being the secret weapon someone the Niners needed to feature. They did, because Kyle Shanahan clearly watches my periscopes and reads my articles. Good going, Kyle. Really smart to feature Kendrick Bourne. Has really emerged recently. He dropped a couple of passes, but he had a touchdown catch. He had a beautiful acrobatic catch over the middle. I think he's played himself into a starting role. I think next year, he's a young guy entering his 4th season in the league. I think you want to put him in the starting lineup. Him and Deebo Samuel, I think they really complement each other well. Bourne's the possession receiver. Deebo Samuel has the speed and the big play ability. Emmanuel Sanders is good too, but he's like 32 years old, and he's become a little bit of an afterthought in the offense. You'd like to keep him, but I think you want to elevate this young kid, Kendrick Bourne, in the starting lineup because he's ascending and he's earned it. So that was good featuring him. I mean, really, I deserve like $8 for suggesting that because I don't think the Niners would have done it had I not suggested it. Good for Kendrick. Deebo played well. Tight end George Kittle. One of my keys to the game was don't force the ball to Kittle because the Vikings are the best at taking away the middle of the field, taking away tight ends. The Niners didn't force the ball to Kittle. That was great. He made his impact as a blocker, which is how he made an impact in college. He's a hell of a blocker. The big reason the Niners rushed for 187 yards. Offensive line, I'd give him a straight A. So I give B for the tight ends, B for the wide receivers, A minus for the running backs, C for Garoppolo, and A for the offensive line. They were the main reason, along with Kittle, that the running game was so effective. And then in pass protection, they gave up 2 sacks. McGlinchey gave up 1. I would give the offensive line maybe a higher grade, maybe an A plus. But McGlinchey struggled. Gave up the sack, had a false start. Not his best game. He was going against Danielle Hunter, who is an elite pass rusher. Um, Still, there's a lot of elite pass rushers in the league, and McGlinchey is just clearly a better run blocker than a pass protector. I was surprised that Shanahan didn't call more screens to McGlinchey's side because just going straight pass sets for McGlinchey wasn't working against Danielle Hunter. Didn't hurt the Niners, though. They won convincingly. Thank you. Um, Defensive line, A+. It's D Ford is like the most valuable player on this team, right? He must be. It's not Bosa, although Bosa was great. But it's like taking Stephen Curry off of the Warriors. It's such a huge impact. And when you put D Ford on this defense, all of a sudden it's historically good. You take him off, it's not that good. I mean, the impact, he's the first pass rusher to get to the quarterback. He may not sack the quarterback, but he causes chaos. He causes chaos, and the rest of the Niners defense thrive on that. Without him creating the chaos, they're not the same. If he can stay healthy and not re-injure his hamstring for the 3rd time, the Niners should cruise to the Super Bowl. I felt coming into this game that the winner of it would go to the Super Bowl. I still feel that way. Whoever wins tomorrow night between the Packers and Seahawks, I'm picking the Niners. And I think the rest of the country will too. A lot of people picked the Vikings in this game. I don't know why. I thought it would be closer than it was, but all you had to do was look at the schedule to realize what this game was going to be. The Niners hadn't played in 13 days. The Vikings were playing their second road game in 6 days. That's hard. And they looked like a team playing their second road game in 6 days. Anyway, linebackers A+. Quan Alexander came back, started at Sam linebacker, which was my suggestion. Don't put him back at will. There's no reason to move Dre Greenlaw out of that spot. He's been great and clutch, heroic, and fantastic. I mean, not just clutch, but he's made a lot of tackles in that spot since Quan Alexander got hurt. Brought back Quan Alexander. He didn't show any rust. You played him as a part-time guy, but more like 75% of the snaps, and he was good. All the linebackers were good. They didn't have to do that much. I mean, Kirk Cousins would drop back and then duck and cover, basically. Defensive backs, I give him an A, not an A+, just because of Ahkello Witherspoon. I don't know what's going on with him. He really played with a lot of confidence the first 3 weeks of the year. It's all gone. He's worse now than he was last year. I don't know what happened. And I wouldn't give up on him. He's had a tough year. He got hurt. He came back. Who knows if he's even 100% healthy? He was so good in training camp. They should give him another chance next year. But for this year, he's done. Start Mosley the rest of the year because Mosley's played really, really, really well. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's like the Niners, it's almost like they're like, well, we drafted him in the 3rd round. We vouched for him, kind of like the reason they kept giving Beathard and Pettis shots. It's like, don't worry about it. Your replacement backup is a guy you can take credit for too. Emmanuel Mosley, you signed him as an undrafted free agent. You get credit for him too. You don't have to stick with Witherspoon. Mosley's your guy as well. And Mosley plays with confidence. Witherspoon doesn't. Mosley tackles. Witherspoon doesn't. A for the DBs. A for the special teams, mostly because of Mostert recovering that fumble. That was big. And then the coaches, I give him an A. I already mentioned what I liked about Shanahan's coaching job. He didn't force the ball to Sanders, didn't force the ball to Kittle. He featured Kendrick Bourne, which was great. And getting the most out of Tevin Coleman was a stroke of genius. And it's very Kyle Shanahan. Like the whole world telling him, hey, Kyle, we know what you should do with your offense better than you know what you should do with your offense. Stop playing Tevin Coleman. And his whole attitude is, I'll do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to put it in your face. And I like that about Kyle Shanahan. Anyway, he gets an A. And then Saleh. I think both Saleh and Shanahan should share the blame of starting Ahkello Witherspoon. But you know what? I don't blame him for starting Ahkello Witherspoon. We talked about this on Periscope the other day. Was that yesterday? And I said, I understand starting Ahkello Witherspoon. Give him a chance. Have a quick hook. If he plays well, great. If he doesn't play well, bench him immediately. They did. So you know what? If I were the head coach or the defensive coordinator, I would have done the same thing. I would have started Witherspoon. I would have benched him after he'd given up what he gave up. And now I wouldn't play him the rest of the year. I think the Niners basically had the right game plan and approach. They adjusted immediately. And with Saleh, I mean, What can you point to? The whole defense was great. What I will say is he's auditioning for this head coaching job with the Browns. He's apparently one of 3 finalists, along with Josh McDaniels from the Patriots and Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator, play caller for the Vikings. Well, I would have to say probably the Browns are looking at Stefanski a little differently after this one and looking at Saleh a little differently. I mean, Saleh basically put him out of business. Forget Kevin Stefanski. He never should have been a head coaching candidate in the first place and probably never will be one or won't be one for a while. That offense was terrible today. No creativity, no answers, no adjustments. I don't understand why he was a head coaching candidate in the first place. He's been a coordinator for 1 year. Gary Kubiak's holding his hand. We don't even know what he does. We don't know how much he game plans. 1 year being a coordinator, his offense ranked 16th. Forget it. Saleh is the one that the Browns should hire. No question. I think Saleh made that clear today. He should be the Browns' next head coach. They'd be lucky to have him. And to me, all they have to figure out is, can they afford to wait a few weeks to hire Robert Saleh? And because if you wait a few weeks and you miss out on assistant coaches, but if Robert Saleh wants to bring assistant coaches from the Niners, like Mike LaFleur and Mike McDaniels, then waiting doesn't matter. So Robert Saleh really, really put himself in a good position to get a promotion, get a new job with the Browns. Good for him. Good for the 49ers. A's for the coaching